One of the Tekken GOATs tweeted that Tekken 8 is not fun, and everyone started losing their minds. The game's new focus on aggression just isn't for everyone. And one of those players is Knee, the God of Tekken. You add in surprise monetization and some questionable balance decisions, and we are already asking, is this really Tekken's future? Alright, so Tekken 8 released to rave reviews back in January, but since then the shine has started to come off a little bit. Now the biggest issue, and the one we're going to talk about first, is the community's perception of the game right now. It's no secret that part of Tekken 8's goal was to reward players more for offense than they had in Tekken 7. Now it did this in a bunch of different ways, but to quickly summarize, some of the ones people would point to are things like the new heat system, the fact that moves are more plus than they were in 7 in many cases, and the fact that there are now more homing moves, including homing grabs. Now, at the top level, Tekken 7 was a defensive game, and many of the best players embraced that style and picked characters specifically to enable it. But it would be a mistake to say that that was the only way to play Tekken 7 or that all pros played that way. That's obviously not true. So we're now a few months out from Tekken 8's release, and it's not surprising that we're starting to see the takes now. A new game often feels good just because it's novel, but it takes some time to really dig in and feel things out. But the take that really got people talking was Knee's, and obviously the God of Tekken's opinion carries some weight in the community. In a tweet on April 17th, Knee said that he straight up wasn't having fun and that he hadn't adapted to the game. And he said the focus on aggression was part of that. Knee had tweeted some of his concerns about the game's balance already, but this was really different. It was a take on the game as a whole. That day, lots of people spoke out on Knee's tweet and the game in general. It felt like some people were emboldened by Knee's criticism to speak openly about the game's flaws. Some argued that the game has to stand apart from the previous title, while others lamented the fact that Knee's opinion was able to start this landslide. Now, I know some of you older heads are probably shouting at your screen by now, Josh, this happens every time a new fighting game comes out. That's something that Genghis Dawn, an American pro who fell in love with the game during Tekken 7, noted as well. Why is that though? Why does this conversation happen over and over in fighting games, and why is it getting so serious in Tekken 8? Well, as my colleague Danielle Rosen pointed out as we were discussing the situation, Tekken is just kind of late to a trend in the genre that's been happening for a bit. Tekken 7 had a long lifespan with lots of tweaks and new characters added, and by the end of the game's lifespan, it had developed this defensive reputation that led to some honestly intense gameplay. But the game remained comparatively pretty hard to learn, and in the time that Tekken was doing all of that, Street Fighter V introduced new ways to get players used to playing fighting games. But then Street Fighter VI took that to a whole new level with the introduction of modern controls as well as a robust single-player offering that let people just mess around playing a fighting game. The goal here was to turn dabblers into demons, and for the most part, it didn't make mastering the game easier, it just made getting into it and understanding it easier. We're not talking about simplifying the game, just making it more accessible. That doesn't mean the game isn't as deep, just that there's an easier way to get into the pool without drowning. But all of that won't stop the conversation if the God of Tekken starts talking about it. The next day, though, he qualified his comments a bit. He again said that he didn't feel like he had adapted, but also that he really wants to love the game and that he would continue to try. Arslan Ash, who was the best player in Tekken 7, was also known for a defensive, evasive style. A pair of posts from him on April 20th are kind of hard to parse. They seem outwardly positive about the game, but almost too positive to the point where some people clearly thought they were sarcastic. But a couple days before these, he seemed to recommit himself to learning this new paradigm. While I think frustration is understandable during a transition like this, seems like neither player wants to tap out yet. Tekken is still Tekken. At the end of the day, there's no denying that Tekken 8 did cut down on the whole backdash and poke thing, as Braska pointed out in his tweet. It also took other steps like the Tekken Arcade Quest mode, where players learn not only about Tekken itself, but about the norms expected in the FGC. Is it working? Well, anecdotally at least, Tekken seems to be doing well in my neck of the woods. Personally, I'm very excited to see where this iteration of Tekken goes, and the aggression focus seems so baked into this thing that I doubt they're gonna reverse course anytime soon anyways. On top of that, the game is actually extremely fun to watch, which I don't think is as controversial as the whole playing angle. At the end of the day, I can't blame Bandai Namco for trying to make a more popular game. What I can blame them for is their addition of the cash shop after all the glowing reviews had been posted. On that point, Bandai Namco did respond.
We hear that some people might have some kind of allergic reaction when they hear shop, etc. But it's more of trying to update the game and keep it fresh with new customization items. And as you've seen what we did with Tekken 7, you know, we tried to refresh the game and to provide a better experience overall, rather than just trying to make money off these individual items. So the thinking is the same for Tekken 8 in that we're trying to make it a better game, and this is just one of the ways that we plan to do that. So please keep that in mind.
Okay, sure, but if that's the case, why don't we have the bravery to put it in the game at release instead of hiding it behind the curtain until it's ready to be sprung on us? The prices themselves here aren't extravagant, and of course we're talking about cosmetic DLC, but they also do that annoying thing where you always have leftover currency, so Tekken 8 has also implemented a battle pass system, and it does have the whole if you complete it, you get all your currency back model. Now, the stuff in these battle passes didn't blow me away or anything, but there is a free track so you can complete it even if you don't pay money. At the end of the day, though, it's still the fear of missing out that's motivating people to complete these things before they go away. Maybe it stings worse for me because we had the other version of the game that didn't have all this monetization in it, but you know, Bandai Namco is here to collect now. Finally, beyond the monetization, we've got balance changes. Here, I think it's fair to be critical of the balance team's approach, at least so far, because these early changes have caused collateral damage when trying to target one character. Those other characters didn't need to be nerfed. Tekken content creator and pro player FeedEX pointed out one such example in one of his videos.
In this case, because Momodog wakes up backwards, he eats a forward 3 axe kick and gets relaunched. This is cool creativity. This is a unique situation. The combo only works on certain axes, and it takes a lot of, I think, intuition. You see how he does this sidestep right? He does a sidestep right to make Jin flip over, Devil Jin flip over, to get this spike. This is cool combo expression to me. But because the strat was so overpowered on June, they've nerfed it out of the game completely.
Characters like Kazuya and Steve did not need nerfs, but if you were a high-level player of one of these characters, you got them anyways because of how these changes were implemented. Trust me, Kazuya did not need nerfs. In other cases, nerfs had unintentional results for the same character. For example, there's an Azucena move, which is now far easier to sidestep, but in some cases far more difficult to punish. I could do a whole video about Azucena, how stupid that character is. I don't want to go too deep into this last point, so let me just leave it at this. Tekken 7 gave us plenty of broken character video material, so it's not like balance has been perfect in the game, even in the recent past. Listen, I think there's plenty of work left to do on balance, but the game seems to be popular with fans. Bandai Namco will have to walk this tightrope between pro and newcomer, just like other fighting games did before them, but maybe that was always the case. Maybe this discussion really was a long time coming, but as long as Tekken 7 was doing well, we didn't really have to think about it. Tekken isn't dead, far from it. But the conversation about where it is now and where it should be going is off to a rough start. In the comments, hit me with your dream guest character only DLC season. So I think it's 4 characters. So Kazuma Kiryu needs to be in the game. Put Kazuma Kiryu in the game. I want Xenos Zos Galvez from Final Fantasy XIV. Akihiko Sanada from Persona 3. Maybe Alphonse Elric from Full Metal Alchemist. Hit me up in the comments with your dream DLC season. Guest characters only.